Okay, next stop on my weird adult errands day, but I talk about books at the same time.
I can't tell where that's coming from.
Oh gosh. Marie Antoinette, Queen Anne Boleyn? I don't know.
Where's that coming from?
Oh, I love to read, but I love when my books aren't full of words. I'm like, oh my god, pick me up, read the back of me, see what I'm all about.
Bless you.
Hello, my name's Sam. Welcome to my channel. So I had this idea to start kind of keeping track of if I'm adding a book to my TBR, why am I adding it to my TBR? Like, what has made me want to read it? Has it been because I saw someone talk about it, a booktuber talk about it, or read it recently and review it and gush about it? So yeah, as I've been adding things to my TBR, I've just been keeping track of what it was that made me want to read it, and I thought it would be fun to every once in a while when I have like a good amount to just share that with you. And I didn't really feel like doing like a sit down chat video because I just edited one and I just filmed another one and I just didn't feel like just sitting in front of my bookshelf and talking the whole time. So I figure I would just take you along as I'm doing the things that I need to do today, which is like drop off some clothes to like a secondhand store, go get groceries. My parents are going to the UK today and I need to pick up their dogs. So for like 3 weeks, we're gonna have 3 dogs in the house because they have 2 dogs and we have 1 dog, and yeah, it's gonna be fun, I'm sure. So the first 2 I found used, and they're both from Meg's channel, Meg with Books, and the first one is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. So this is about the daughter of a like cult horror film director, and the daughter is found dead and it's deemed a suicide, but then a journalist believes that there was more to it, and he starts investigating. And the reason I added this to my TBR was first because she loved it. She gave it 4.5 stars, so that sold me. And the main thing though is that it's mixed media, and I'm always looking for more books that are mixed media. Of course, now I flip and I can't find any mixed media. So there's like lots of pictures in here. There's like emails and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I saw it on Meg's channel. She loved it, and I was drawn to the synopsis and the mixed media elements of that one. Another one that I found on Meg's channel that I added because of her was Shark Heart by Emily Habeck. And this is following a couple who recently gets married, and then he gets a rare diagnosis. He's going to keep all of his memories and consciousness, but he's slowly going to turn into a shark. And the synopsis was interesting to me, but what got me was this book made her cry. And I only have 4 books that have ever made me like sob my eyes out. Like, I've teared up, but I want to sob. And I'm hoping to find more to do that. And then also, again, just like with how Night Film has mixed media elements, this one is like, you know, short paragraphs, not a lot of writing on all the pages. And it makes me laugh every time, but I always say, like, I love when you flip through a book and you discover that not all of the pages are covered in words. Like, I find that it makes the reading experience really enjoyable. Like, when you flip to a page and there's like 2 paragraphs on it, and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna get through this book so quickly. Which is a silly thing for a reader to say, like, oh, I love to read, but I love when my books aren't full of words. But yeah, those are the first 2. Anyways, I'm gonna finish getting ready, and then I'm gonna go drop off all those clothes, and then I'll chat to you about more books. Okay, so the next ones that I'm going to talk about, so when I'm doing this in the future, every time I see a video, I'm going to just add it to my playlist, because I've just been like putting it in a note in my phone. Like, I've added the book to my TBR, and then I've just said like where it's from, like, so that I can rewatch the video later. And so these next 2 are from Jan Agaton, but I can't for the life of me find the video that I saw these 2 books in. So in the future, I will, you know, put them in like a little playlist right away. But so the 2 books that I saw in her video that I added to my TBR, one was called Nothing Burns as Bright as You by Ashley Woodfolk. And the reason I added this one to my TBR was because it's a romance told in verse about queer love, female friendship, and I looked it up on Goodreads and it has like 2,800 reviews, and I was just hoping that it would be another gem like Muted. So one of my all-time favorite books is Muted by Tammy Charles, and it is a YA story told in verse, and it is one of the 4 books that has made me sob, and it has like 1,800 ratings on Goodreads, and to me that's just like an absolute travesty. So I was thinking that maybe that one would be another gem. And then the other book that she mentioned was called Out of Love by Hazel Hayze. And that one sounded very intriguing. Simply the synopsis, it's a romance, but it's told in reverse. So you start with their breakup and then you work back to them meeting and falling in love. And I just love how Jan described it and talked about it, and it sounded very interesting. So yeah, those are the two books that I found from her. I'm gonna pop into Once Upon a Child and I will chat with you at my next stop. Okay, next stop, next couple books. The sky is looking very beautifully blue. Also, there's this beam of light. Where is it coming from? Maybe if I go here. Anyways, the next two books are from Books and Lala. She posted a video of reading like books that have some of her favorite things in them, like books that play with time, portals, blah blah blah. So one that I found from that, and I've talked about this book in like the last two videos I've made. I got it in a birthday book haul, and then it was in my mid-year freakout book tag, and that is The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. And this one is about a woman that comes home and there's a man in her house, says he's her husband. There's like pictures and stuff that like prove that he's her husband, and then he goes up in the attic and then a new guy comes down, and this just keeps happening. And I added this one to my TBR because the synopsis sounded really interesting. The cover is giving me vibes of some of my favorite books. It's got a really low Goodreads rating, like a 3.55, and that mixed with like the tone that the cover is giving me, I feel like it's going to be similar to other books that I have loved that have also had a low rating. And also Kayla gave it 5 stars, and I find that I have similar tastes to her when it comes to like books that people generally don't like. And another book in that video that just the way she was talking about it, she gave it 5 stars. She said it's probably going to end up in her top 10 favorite books of the year, and that is The Haunting of Velkwood, and I can't remember the author, but I'll put it right here. As well, she comped it to Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield and Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour, and those are two of my all-time favorite books. And just like the sad, like melancholy tone of them, like where it's like a horror but it's kind of like vaguely a horror, the way she was describing The Haunting of Velkwood and just comping it to those two books, I feel like it's gonna be like right up my alley, just kind of like this mild feeling sad kind of ghost story. And that one is about this street and something that like happened on this street where like everyone is now like ghosts and no one can go back there except these 3 girls who maybe were the cause of this thing that happened in the first place. So yeah, that one sounds like it's gonna be really good. So yeah, sorry about this like beam of light, but now I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I'll see you when I make my next stop. Okay, it's noisy out here, but we're on to the dogs. Hi, Polly. Hi. That's Polly, and that's Bailey. Does it? Hi, doggies. Hi, doggies. Yes, bless you. Bless you. Bless you. Can you see Bailey? Say hi, Bailey. Hello. She does this a lot. She'll just like sniff your face really up close and personal. Okay, these next 3 are all from another video from Kayla from Books and Lala, where she just finds books that are upcoming releases and just chats about them, reads the synopsis. So speaking of Julia Armfield, the first one is Private Rites by her. And again, I loved Our Wives Under the Sea. And this one just said it's a haunting novel about 3 sisters exploring queer love and faith at the end of the world. And it seemed like it's exactly Julia Armfield's kind of mild, haunty, ghosty, creepy vibe, and I think it's going to be awesome. The next one is Eat the Ones You Love, and honestly, the cover and the synopsis is just doing it for me. It's about this girl who starts working in this flower shop, and she becomes enamored with the girl that works there, but so does this orchid in the mall, and it is watching her, it's obsessed with her, it wants to eat her, and honestly, it just sounds like my kind of weird. Last one in that video is Evil in Me by Brom, and the first thing Kayla said was a story of possession, damnation, and rock and roll. And honestly, that's all I need. It's by Brom. I just read Slewfoot. I love Slewfoot, and he just knows how to do horror perfectly. So I'm going to be reading that. Next chunk of books I found from Sid Bookworm. She did like a book haul video, and in it she talked about a trilogy by Rachel Cusk, Outline, Transit, and Kudos. And she described the first book, Outline, as like a book of conversations, a deep dive into how we tell stories, stream of consciousness, which is something I love. And they looked like short books, and I love short books, and I love books that have like a kind of a different narrative style. So I was interested in those ones. And then she also talked about Tempest of Tea, and she described it as Six of Crows, because there's a heist, and also Peaky Blinders with vampires. And I've always kind of felt like Six of Crows reminded me of Peaky Blinders, so all of that in a book sounds amazing. But yeah, time to get these dogs home and get my daughter and I some lunch, and I will chat with you about more books when I'm home. Okay, next and final stop on my little I do adult errands, but I talk about books at the same time, is putting groceries away and making my daughter a sandwich. So another book that I found because of Kayla from one of her wrap-up videos is How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. And she described it as like you get dropped in a video game and she keeps dying and then she keeps respawning, and like the characters from Ledges and Lattes, but not cozy, more dark, but like also fun and funny. And the title and also that just whole synopsis thing just sounded like a good time. So it sounds like it's exactly what the title sounds like. She keeps dying trying to like complete this quest, and then she decides to switch up her quest, and instead of like save people from like this Dark Lord, she decides to just become the Dark Lord. So that sounds like a really good time. The next two books I found because of Lexi, the first one being I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. She read this in a trying to read 200 pages a day. And it's about like a woman who's having an affair, and then the guy she's having an affair with is also having an affair, and then she becomes obsessed with that girl. And she described it as unlikable characters, stream of consciousness, and it's like just over 200 pages. And those two things, plus it being a short book, just sounds like exactly something I'll like. The next book from Lexi was her answer for Best Book of the Year in her mid-year book freakout tag, and that is When We Lost Our Heads. And she described it as like weird girl lit, and she just gushed and gushed and gushed about it. And it's a book that I have not seen like anywhere, but I have seen it in my library. Like it's always on like the shelves when I go into my library, and I've never thought to even like pick it up or read the synopsis. The cover isn't really giving me much. It's just like a pretty cover, but it doesn't really scream like, oh my God, pick me up, read the back of me, see what I'm all about. So I'm glad that I saw her like raving about it because it sounds really good. I don't really know what it's about. I can't remember if it's like a Marie Antoinette. I think it was Marie Antoinette, Queen Anne Boleyn. I don't know. I guess I'll find out if/when I read it. I'm doing absolutely no grocery putting away. I'm just talking. But yeah, the next book I found from Gabby, and it is The Eyes Are the Best Part, and it's about a Korean American woman who slowly becomes obsessed with the idea of eating eyeballs. And Gabby described it as a slow burn character study that just gets more and more unhinged as like the book goes on, and that is definitely something that I like. Also, I was just curious because she also said it was really graphic, and I recently read and didn't like Mayfly because I thought that it was so incredibly graphic. So a part of the reason why I want to read that book and why I added it to my TBR was simply just because I was curious. Yeah, so those are all the books that I heard of recently that were described in a way that made me want to read them. If you watched, thank you for watching, and I look forward to making these videos as more books come up that I want to read. So yeah, have a good day.